Hey, hey, Patrick Kelley. I'm a distinguished architect here at Zoom. I'm not a spokesman for Zoom. I'm not a figurehead for Zoom. I'm just a guy that likes to talk about technology, and a lot of times that helps to deal with Zoom. Today it doesn't really. Well, kind of ancillarily it does. Maybe to a degree. I was watching. I have it on right now. I was watching CBS Good Morning. It's like my Sunday ritual. I grab some coffee, have some breakfast, and kind of relax before I kind of dig into the day. On Sunday, it's my chore day. Usually, typical do your chores on Sunday, work around the house. But I always have CBS Good Morning on. And it's always I used to have it on when I was a kid. My grandparents had it on, and I thought, boring news. But I always was intrigued and watched it. First of all, I loved the end. We always had some sort of animals at the end to end the show. And if you always like the classic trumpet opening and closing, that's not what I'm talking about. They had a story this Sunday called The Great Shift. And The Great Shift is really, it was talking about hybrid work and a flexible work model. And what we're doing today as a society globally to address this problem or opportunity, however you'd like to look at it. In fact, right on the screen right there was the CEO of Yelp. He actually closed all his offices. He's like, listen, we've been doing this for the last 2.5 years remotely. And in fact, our productivity has actually increased remotely. Why in the world would I spend millions of dollars on office space and real estate? Because that's not what my users want, my customers want, my employees want. In fact, they did open up the offices after the pandemic, kind of obviously not stopped, but obviously slowed down enough that we could start going back to work. What he found was that only 1% of his employees came back to work. And you can see right now they're in the story of the benefits of flexible work and the benefits of hybrid work. And then some of the negatives of going to the office versus working from home. It was a fascinating story, and I did. There was both sides, right? They gave the pros and cons. There was another gentleman that was talking about going back to work, and this guy wrote a book on the Great Shift. What I'm saying is that there's no right answer for everyone, right? Every company does things differently. Every even department inside the company might do things differently. They might have different needs and different wants. I remember when I first started out at Microsoft a long time ago, I was a support escalation engineer. That was my title. Basically, I sat in a cubicle and got on the phone with customers and fixed networking problems. That was my whole job. And I was so green and didn't know hardly anything about networking. I was just kind of thrust into this job. Microsoft's like, hey, here's a networking book. In 2 weeks, you're on the phones. I was deathly afraid to get on the phones and help these massive companies fix networking problems when I wasn't a networking expert. I was literally 1 page ahead. If I hadn't have done that job from the office, I would have failed. I probably would have gotten fired. And why is that? Because I needed to collaborate with my team. I needed literally impromptu collaboration, immediate collaboration with people that were sitting around me. And if I was at home doing that job, I would have literally sunk. There's no way I could have been successful in that job. I can see why, as an escalation engineer or as a support engineer, that for really, really hard stuff, that going into the office would actually be almost a necessity, especially if you're newer. And this is before, by the way, this was 2006. This was before the day of collaboration. There was no Slacks. There was no Teams. There was no Zoom chat. None of that existed. Persistent chat was not even a thought in anybody's head. We did have instant messaging, and that would probably have helped. But I cannot imagine doing a support escalation engineer job at Microsoft without going to the office. Would have failed. Now, the job I do today, right, as a distinguished architect, I certainly need to still collaborate with my team, collaborate with my colleagues, but I don't probably need to do it in a super impromptu moment where I have people literally on the phone in my ear asking me really hard questions that I need immediate answers. That's not my role today. I don't need to go in the office today. Would I want to? You know what? I actually would. If we had a Zoom office in North Carolina, in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I live, I'd probably go in. Not every day. Not every day I wouldn't go in. This young lady on the screen right here worked for AT&T for, I believe, 30 years. And she and her teammates were forced to go home, obviously during the pandemic, to do their job. But then after the pandemic had subsided, they were forced to come back into the office. And that caused literally massive mutiny at AT&T where she was working in her department. How no one wanted to go back into the office. They were doing fine out of the office. They were doing their jobs actually even better out of the office, back at home. Then she had to tackle daycare. Then she had to tackle kids, right? And going to daycare and that expense and that travel. Then she had to tackle traffic. All the things that are negative were costing AT&T and their company productivity in this article, right? You can feel free to listen to it. It's on CBS Good Morning on their website. Literally watching it right now. It caused so much animosity among her coworkers and colleagues. A lot of them just quit. And so what that forced them to do is lose a ton of talent as well. The Yelp CEO even talked about instead of having to hire talent locally now, right? They had offices in New York City and San Francisco, and they were hiring only talent in New York and San Francisco because obviously you had to be able to commute to the office. What he said was, now that we've extended it to a hybrid, remote, flexible workplace, I can hire talent anywhere in the world to do the job I had before. That allows him to obviously hire a vast array of talent that he didn't have access to before the pandemic, because they had this mentality of, hey, you can only hire locally. I'm not going to do a commercial for, I don't even know if that was for some insurance company. The point is, hybrid work has certainly changed the way we look at work, how we look at the workplace from a flexible work capacity. I do my job remotely 100% of the time. I would like the opportunity to go into the office. Why? Not to do work. To collaborate and socially. Social reasons is really why I would love to go into work. I would love to go into work and have lunch with my boss and my teammates. I wouldn't love to go into work. Here's one of the reasons I wouldn't love to go into work. I have 4 screens here in my office. I have 4 screens. I have a Microsoft Teams room. I have a Zoom space room over there. I have a X30, Poly X30. I have Jabra Panicast. I have Logitech docks. I have all this equipment that I would not have access to at work. I would be less productive actually going to the office to do my job. I would be far less productive. So there's a lot of benefits to pluses and minuses to going to work, not going into work. I don't have the answer. I'm not saying that, I'm just bringing this up as a topic of conversation. What I have to talk about a lot with customers is, you know what, no matter what the choice of an individual user, individual department, individual company, enterprise, Zoom's going to be there to develop technology and innovate to those choices. Zoom allows you to be able to choose where you work. I'm at the office, I'm remote, I'm at home. It doesn't matter. It's the same application, the same experience for your end user. Whether I'm in a conferencing room, whether I'm on mobile, whether I'm on a desktop, an iPad, Zoom client's the same. The same functions are there. I can do my job wherever I'm at, remotely, office, home. Zoom allows that flexibility. And that's one of the powerful things about having one application that could be your UCaaS stack. Your entire UCaaS stack could be one application. We're not talking about meetings. Everyone knows Zoom is meetings. Zoom is much more than meetings, right? Zoom is phone too. We extend the UCaaS platform into phone. So Zoom could be your phone provider. Zoom could be your meetings provider, your audio, your video. What about digital signage? Did you even know Zoom did digital signage? What about collaboration? Zoom Teams Chat obviously allows you to collaborate via chat too. You've heard me talk about chat infinite amount of times. What about contact center? What about Solvy and AI, incorporating that into your UCaaS platform? What about our development platform? What about our open APIs and SDKs and our app marketplace? Zoom's doing a fantastic job of bringing all these together. We haven't even talked about Whiteboard, right? All these amazing things, all under one application, one experience. What about events? Hybrid events, flexible events. Zoomtopia, November 8th and 9th. Shameless plug. I'm speaking at it. Going to be a virtual as well as physical environment. You can literally watch every single session virtually, or you can attend physically. It's in San Francisco. CBS Good Morning, again, to round it out, brought up the point of the great shift, right? That there was the great resignation. Now there's the great shift of going from an office to 100% remote to what, right? The hybrid level. So hybrid work is an amazing topic. Again, there's no solution for that fits everyone. Everyone has different needs. Everyone has different requirements. It's just an amazing topic, and I just wanted to bring it up today.